The most popular method for anatomy or figure drawing is by simplifying the body into 3D shapes. You got the box, you got the cylinder, box again, another cylinder, and whatever this is. I have the brain of an anchovy, hence why I cannot visualize 3D. I assume anchovies cannot visualize 3D. If I use 3D for figure drawing, I will end up stressing on the 3D shapes instead of the anatomy. So this method is a no for me. In the trash you go. Anyway, thank heavens for this tutorial by Po Hui Hua on Xiaohongshu. This looks so much easier than using the 3D, so let's try it out. First, let's talk brush. The tutorial is using a slightly transparent round brush so you can see the joints clearly. In Ivy's paint, I am using this brush called Felt Tip Pen Hard. In lower opacity, it behaves similarly with the brush in the original tutorial. You can use any brush you like, but make sure there's an overlapping color here, kinda like a Venn diagram, so you can create the joints easier. Okay, let's move on to the drawing. Start by making 3 main circles, small for the head, medium for the torso, and big for the hips. Then add a tiny circle for the waist and a line for the neck. Then add a straight line, this will be the shoulders. Now draw the arms, and remember to split them into 2 sections because elbows exist. On the hips, I will add 2 extra circles for the base of the thighs, then extend them to make the legs. Remember to also split them because knees exist. Knees are basically leg elbows. No? There we go. Our beautiful blobs of limbs, ready to be molded into a human body. Make some adjustments with Liquify, and this is optional, but you can add a squiggly rectangle for the torso. Also, if you're a complete beginner in figure drawing, you can trace the references for guidelines only. Sometimes it's hard to determine where to place the shoulders, how long is the arm, things like that. Especially when some parts of the limbs are hidden, like this one because he's in a sitting position. Okay, well, obviously the traced one is better and this one looks garbage now, but please try to draw the guidelines yourself as a practice. Now you might be wondering, is that it? Did we just learn anatomy? Oh, I wish it was. But no, we are going to sketch something based on these blobs. If you can immediately draw a body, go for it. But I have an anchovy brain, remember? So I'm gonna draw some sticks and balls as additional guidelines, as well as changing anything I wanna change. For example, I think the left arm could bend more and I want the waist to curve more. The balls are for the joints and I simplified the crotch into a triangle. Then I made another layer and started drawing the body. By the way, if you can't see the sketch underneath, I don't really know what happened. I think my editing software is broken or something. It's been doing that for 3 times in a row, where you can't see a very light sketch. Anyway, if you can't immediately draw the body, you can draw some simple shapes first. Some people say limbs shouldn't be drawn straight because there's muscles and stuff. Well, they may be right, but we do need basic shapes before turning it into curves and such. So we have 3 guidelines so far: the blobs for the silhouette, sticks and balls for the skeleton, and the basic shapes for volume. The last one is optional. If you're already used to it, you can immediately draw the body after the sticks and balls, or even after the blobs if you're feeling like a badass or badass. That's another way to read badass. Now I will focus on the simplification and some details. I usually simplify the muscles into sweet potatoes. However, parts like forearms have longer and smaller muscles, so draw them more straight. Seriously, straighter. English, come on. Don't make them all sweet potatoes. They're delicious, but don't. Now this is something I've seen a lot of beginners overlook, including me when I first learned anatomy. It's the traps or the trapezius muscles. You can also add that to the guideline so you don't forget. Let's move on to the second reference. Let's try one with a bit of perspective. As you can see, the camera angle is lower, or frog view. I got peed on by a frog once. I was a child minding my own business and this little bastard peed on me. Anyway, the blobs measurement is still the same as before. Small for head, medium for torso, big for hips, then add the waist and make the limbs just like we did a few minutes ago. By the way, yes, I don't have any exact measurements for the guidelines. I have a tiny fish brain. You think it's wise to get math involved? That's why, again, If it's too hard, trace the reference for guidelines. After you get a sense of how big and how long things generally are, try to draw the guidelines by yourself. I think I will draw the body right away. I want to feel like a badass for once in a while. One of the things I'm struggling with is the boobs. She said boobs! Are you freaking 12? I'm drawing a cross to help me with the angle. You can use the cross to determine the middle of the body and also the curve of the body. Bodies tend to curve upwards in a frog view and curve downwards in eagle view or the higher angle. Clothes are also affected by angles and perspective, so from the frog view, her bra and her shorts will be curving upwards. I know this has nothing to do with anatomy, but if you're not drawing naked bodies, you should pay attention to the clothes as well. And remember, these guidelines are just guidelines. You don't have to follow them religiously or whatever. People have different bodies with details that cannot be captured by a mere guideline. For example, this model has a bit of hip dips, and it wasn't captured by the blobs because they're blobs. They only focus on the whole figure. They're not very detailed individuals. Of course, you can modify the blobs, but I prefer to add these details during the rough sketch. Now let me show you how to dramatize the angle. Click liquify and choose expand. With a big brush, make the lower half of the body bigger. Then choose shrink and make the upper half smaller. This is the comparison with the undramatized version. Doesn't look like much, but this one looks more dramatic. Now let's try the eagle view. I will just trace to save time, and to be honest, this angle is quite challenging for me. I don't think I can nail this. Anyway, from this angle, I don't think the hips will be as big as the front and frog view, so I will use a smaller circle for that. By the way, since the limbs are overlapping in this one, you can use different colors so it's easier to see. And now I will quickly draw the rough sketch. I made a mistake in the blobs though. The head should be much bigger. I think in eagle view, the size should be reversed. And remember, the body curves downwards. You know what? Let's give him some clothes to spare his decency. As I mentioned, clothes are affected by the angle, especially the holes. You know, like the pant hole and the shirt hole and all kinds of holes. Afterwards, adjust the whole thing with liquify. Sometimes even with the best guidelines, the drawing can still look weird, so just use liquify. It's free, it's amazing, it's my best friend. Okay, now I wanna yap a bit about muscles. If you wanna hear me yap a lot about muscles, the muscle study video for members is in the making. It's in the oven. Become a member if you're interested, but even if you don't, that's okay. I still love you. Anyway, let's do a simple pose for this segment. I will draw the blobs real quick. It's just a hand crossing pose, nothing too fancy. The guy in the reference though, fancy. Let's move on to the rough sketch and draw the face and neck really simply. Don't forget to draw the traps and draw the shoulders. And for the biceps, I simplified them into barrels. You know what? Let's give him bigger barrels because I'm drawing Farka and he loves huge barrels. Okay, now draw a cleaner sketch so it looks more like Farka. At this stage, I added more volumes and curves to the drawing. For example, if you look at his forearm, there's this piece of meat. Hold on, meat? Really? What am I, a butcher? Piece of flesh, muscle, which kinda squished because he's crossing his arm, and I try to capture that in the clean sketch. For ripples of muscles like in the triceps, forearm, and also in the elbows, I simplify them into angular lines. I also do this for the whole body actually. For example, the shoulder is round and I break it down into angular shapes. Sometimes I make the lines thinner and more angular. The elbow is not fully sharp like a knife, by the way, it's curved, but I like to make it kinda rectangular. This is all optional, obviously. If you like it curved, just make it curved. Okay, so I didn't really like the sketch, so I made another clean sketch. I see clean sketches as an opportunity to make my drawing better. I will not go into detail about how I draw the face and hair, obviously, but the shirt is inspired by Farka official animation. But anyway, I made the shirt sleeveless, so it looks like the reference. I added more volume, just a little bit, okay? I made sure I didn't go overboard, even though I really wanted to. And I also added a few more details like the arm vein veins. I actually focused too much on the veins that I forgot to draw his scars. Kinda disappointed in myself, but well, I can always add them later in the rendering stage. Yes, I will color and render this in the membership video as part of the muscle study. I will add a little sneak peek as a marketing effort for my channel membership, but you know, again, no pressure, do whatever you want. And thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!